Hello, everyone. So, little update. I did manage to find my shampoo. However, now our hot water system has broken, so the hair is up. Now, I was going to write an email, but I am actually really loving this talking thing. So, I was thinking about, selling and things. And I actually have a masterclass. It's a 2 hour masterclass, but it comes with a 3 hour recording. It comes with a book. It comes with a little podcast episode and a bunch of slides. And it is about, becoming ungovernable and really tapping into our intuition so that we know what's going on and what really is valuable for us and what it means to be a sovereign person and make decisions from that heart-centered what matters to us. And being a sensitive person and being connected to the world and living in the world we are, do you know how hard it is to get on here, on platforms, on Substack, on Instagram and sell right now? I mean, like we're constantly scrolling and seeing death and war and destruction and people bombing places and like civilizations being erased and genocides. And it feels really weird to me. It feels like I can't come on here and sell and ask people for money. But the funny thing is that I also live in the conditions of empire. I still live under capitalism. I still live under white supremacy and colonialism and all of the isms that are the arms of empire. Because empire isn't just a place, empire is a system. And it's all of these systems. And I use the word empire because it's the body. And all of these things like capitalism and patriarchy and all the things we live under are limbs of it. And it's those systems and those limbs that have caused the chaos and the pain and the suffering that we live in now. And it's really unpopular to talk about in spiritual circles because in spiritual circles, the idea and the narrative is that we should transcend, we should escape these things. And there's a lot of talk about living on farms and off grid and moving to Portugal and pretty much escaping the matrix. And I'm here to tell you that that is just not really true. It's not an option because empire touches everything. If you live as a human on the planet, you cannot escape things like capitalism, right? You want to go off grid and buy a farm. Where are you getting the money from, right? Capitalism. So as much as the spiritual world will not talk about money, will not talk about exchange, and will shun all of that and pretend they're not in it, like that's not real spirituality. That is bypassing. And I'm actually writing about this in spiritual escapism in my book at the moment. And it is tricky. It's tricky to write about and it's hard to speak, but I kind of feel like this is my job to give it voice, which is what I'm doing. So as much as I hate the idea of selling, I kind of have to sell. This is my job. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is where I have to put my attention because if I am supporting my lineage, which I am, a lot of all my work is from my lineage of South Asian descent of my grandmother and her teachings. Like my children are also part of my lineage. They are my living lineage. And it is my job to care for them and to provide for them. And my work does that. So it's interesting, right? Because we are in a time where empire is collapsing. We can see it around us, right? Most commentators are saying 5 years until the world ends. And not that I'm doom and gloom, but I kind of agree with them. I think we've got about 5 years until this world ends. The world of empire, the world of capitalism, of extraction, of appropriate cultural appropriation, of all of the things that are harming us. And I think that a new world is being born. But at the moment, we are in the dark. We are in the dark, the womb space, Mary Magdalene's first power of darkness. And there's this amazing line in Hamilton. And he says, "We dream in the dark for the most part." And that is exactly what we are doing right now. We are dreaming in the dark of a new world that needs to come into being, right? And how does that look? What should we do, right? Because it's hard. What do we do? And I was thinking about this. And there's a lot of different creators who have been talking about this, right? And talking about like, what is it we do now? And I'm reading Frantz Fanon at the moment, which is Wretched of the Earth, and he talks about violence. He talks about how to change up the way the world we live in, we need some sort of violence, right? And being someone who's not really into violence a lot, a bit of a pacifist, I don't want to fight. I was thinking about this concept about violence and, talking about it with a few of my clients. And if you've seen the movie Everywhere, Everything, All at Once, what they do is to jump timelines, right? Is they need to do a bunch of different things, weird things, right? And it's almost like they need to break. They need to break the timeline that they're in, right? And Harry Potter talks about it the same thing, like, for Voldemort to break himself apart, to break that habit of being himself, to use a Joe Dispenza phrase, he has to kill. He has to have an act of violence. So these acts of violence don't actually have to be massive things. And that's where we get it wrong, I think, is we think that to change the world, we need massive acts of violence, when really we need tiny little small acts of violence. And all these acts of violence are just against empire. Right. So we do things that do not feed into empire. They're violent against the oppressive systems of empire. So what do I mean by this? Okay. I was listening to another creator who is a American living in occupied Palestine. And she was saying that, what we need to do is vote with our dollar, vote with boycotting things and vote with putting our money into places that we want to see. And I fully agree with this. I fully agree with this, because if we are to dream in the dark and we are to create a new world, we need to put our intention, our attention, and our money into what we want to see in the world. So this means buying from people who matter to us. This means following creators on Instagram and liking their posts and sharing their posts of people we want to see, the voices we want amplified. And this means rejecting the voices and the people and the ideas that we do not want to see in the world anymore. That is an act of violence against empire, saying, I will not stand for this. Now, I've said this a few times, and I don't know, I think I've written about this, that I no longer pay money to white creators. And this has absolutely nothing to do with their content, because it is great. There are some amazing white creators out there, and, people of the global minority who create amazing things. But for me personally, I only have a certain amount of attention. I have a finite amount of money and attention at the moment, right? And what I want to do is put that intentionally into what I want to see in the world, right? So I will put my money, my attention, and my intention into things I want to see. I buy certain products from certain places because that's what I want to see in the world. I will share certain content creators' content and ideas because that's what I want to see in the world. And I will put my money into what I want to see in the world. So if I want to see more single mothers talking about single mothering, that's where I'm going to put my stuff. That's what I want to bring into the world. Now, you might think that, oh, Leandra, picking a different can of tomatoes or sharing an Instagram reel, or stopping someone saying a racist joke isn't going to do anything. Let me tell you, there is a thing called the multi-universe theory, which I love, which says that the universe is like a piece of cheese, right? Like a big block of cheese. And every single time you make a different decision, that block of cheese is sliced and you create a new reality. So this is exactly what is happening in Everywhere, Everything, All at Once. If you haven't seen that movie, go see it. It's great. And it is that every time you make a different decision, you pick something new, you commit an act of violence against empire, a tiny little act of violence of, hey, I'm not going to use a self-checkout because I don't want to see self-checkouts in the world. I'm not going to use AI to write my supermarket shopping list or my Instagram caption. I'm going to do that myself. These are small acts of violence against empire. And we need to be doing these. We need these. Every single one of us needs to be doing tiny, tiny little things, because that is what amounts to us changing up the frequency, changing up the world that we live in, and putting ourselves on a different timeline, so that in 5 years, when empire does eventually crumble, we have already started building something better. So it's from this angle, this lens, that I am coming to you and telling you about my live masterclass next week. Because if you have been looking for something, if you've been looking for something to help you navigate what's going on, you know, to find your guiding light, your North Star, your purpose in life, like, what am I here for? Why am I here? That anchoring of where you make these decisions from. If you've been looking for something to help you with that, I have that. I have got that for you, right? And it's only €80, and it's only 2 hours of your time on a Tuesday to start building this and to start finding it. So this is the energy I'm coming at this from, of I am not pretending that I don't live in capitalism. I'm not pretending it doesn't exist. I am saying I still have to play within these rules, because empire is still the governing and dominant energy. And I need energy, and I need to keep going, and something to power me, to power my lineage, to power my legacy, and to start creating and being a leader of what's coming next. So if you want to see more people like me creating things and saying things and making stuff in the world, then the link is down there, and you can buy my course and help fund and put your money into the new.